relationship between science and religion has been a subject of debate for centuries, with many scientists attempting to convince Christians that God is not real. This phenomenon is often misunderstood, with some people assuming that scientists are inherently opposed to religion or that they are attempting to undermine the faith of Christians. However, the reality is more complex, and there are several reasons why scientists may try to convince Christians that God is not real. One of the primary reasons scientists may attempt to convince Christians that God is not real is that science and religion often present conflicting explanations for the same phenomena. For example, the theory of evolution, which is widely accepted by the scientific community, suggests that humans evolved over millions of years through a process of natural selection. In contrast, many Christians believe that humans were created by God in their current form. When scientists present evidence for evolution, they may be seen as challenging the Christian narrative, leading some Christians to view science as a threat to their faith. By attempting to convince Christians that God is not real, scientists may be trying to resolve this conflict and promote a more evidence-based understanding of the world. Another reason scientists may try to convince Christians that God is not real is that many scientific theories and principles are based on empirical evidence and testable hypotheses. In contrast, religious beliefs are often based on faith and are not subject to empirical verification. Scientists may view religious beliefs as untestable and therefore unscientific, leading them to conclude that God is not real. This perspective is not necessarily an attack on Christianity or any other religion, but rather a reflection of the scientific method and the importance of empirical evidence and scientific inquiry. Some scientists may also attempt to convince Christians that God is not real because they believe that religion can be a barrier to scientific progress. When people rely on religious explanations for natural phenomena, they may be less likely to investigate the underlying causes and mechanisms. For example, if someone believes that a particular disease is caused by divine punishment, they may be less likely to seek medical attention or to support research into the disease. By promoting a more scientific understanding of the world, scientists may be trying to encourage people to think more critically and to rely on evidence-based explanations rather than relying on religious dogma. It is also worth noting that some scientists may have personal experiences or biases that lead them to reject the idea of God. For example, a scientist who has experienced trauma or loss may reject the idea of a benevolent deity, or a scientist who has been raised in a non-religious household may never have considered the possibility of God's existence. While these personal experiences and biases may influence a scientist's views on religion, they do not necessarily reflect the scientific consensus or the principles of scientific inquiry. Despite these reasons, many scientists recognize that religion can play an important role in people's lives, and that it is possible to be a scientist or a person of faith. In recent years, there has been a growing movement to promote greater understanding and dialogue between the scientific and religious communities. Many scientists and religious leaders are working together to explore the intersection of science and faith, and to promote a more nuanced understanding of the relationship between these two domains. In conclusion, scientists may try to convince Christians that God is not real for a variety of reasons, including the conflict between scientific and religious explanations, the importance of empirical evidence in scientific inquiry, and the potential for religion to be a barrier to scientific progress. However, it is also important to recognize that science and religion are not mutually exclusive, and that many scientists and people of faith are working together to promote greater understanding and dialogue. By engaging in respectful and open-minded dialogue, we can work to promote a more nuanced understanding of the relationship between science and faith, and to foster greater tolerance and respect for different perspectives and beliefs.